and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're on Island White, one of the 4 oil islands off the coast of Long Beach, and we're going to take a tour, and joining me is Curtis Henderson, who is the operations manager for the City of Long Beach Gas and Oil.
How you doing, Harvey? Good morning.
Thank you for joining us, and let's take a tour.
Okay, well, come along.
Okay, I said now this is Island White. There are 4 other islands.
Actually, there's 4 islands total. Island White is one of them. The other 3 are Island Grissom, Island Chaffee, and Island Freeman.
And they were named after the astronauts who lost their life in NASA-related accidents?
Grissom, White, and Chaffee were the ones that died on Apollo 1 back in the 60s. And Freeman was also an astronaut, and he died in a plane crash.
Now, these are 10 acres each.
3 of the islands are 10 acres. Island Freeman's a little bit larger.
And they were built at a cost of $2 million each?
Approximately $2 million each, just to construct the land-based portion of the island. The facilities, the vegetation, as you see around here, were at additional cost.
And the rocks were all brought over from Catalina?
You know, what happened was they took some quarry rock from Catalina and they made like a circle, and then they filled in from some of the soil surrounding the island and then put some more rock on top of it, kind of like a shield.
Now, this is a drilling tower, I understand, but from the shore it looks like a building, and many people confuse these with condominiums, don't they?
We still get calls on occasion, people asking if they can come out and rent the condominiums on the islands, but of course they cannot. It's hollow inside except for the drilling rig.
Now, this tower is on a track and it's movable?
Yes, it can go almost all the way around the island. We'll cross the tracks here in a few minutes, but yes, it can position it's now. It will be there until that well is drilled or whatever it's being done at that point in time, but it can rotate almost all the way around this island.
When were the islands built?
Islands were built starting in 1966, and they were completed in early '69.
And they're operating 24/7?
This operation is called the Long Beach Unit, or the East Wilmington Oil Field, and it operates on a 24/7 basis. It produces about 32,000 barrels of oil a day, but along with that, it's about 900, it's almost 1 million barrels of water is produced daily too.
Now, this is called THUMS, which stood for Texaco, Union, Humble, Mobil, and Shell.
Correct.
But it's not owned by the oil companies anymore.
No, the name stays the same, but in 1992, actually, ARCO bought out all the interest of all those oil companies. But in 1998, Oxy bought out ARCO's interest, and now is wholly owned by Occidental Petroleum.
And the City of Long Beach gets revenue from this yearly?
The city receives some revenue from this oil field. We receive oil revenue from our working interest owner in the town lot area, which is the part that's north of Ocean Boulevard. We also receive some other revenue from this field too.
Did you call this the Wilmington Field?
The Wilmington Field is an oil field that stretches from the far west end of Long Beach all the way to Orange County line.
And the oil was discovered approximately in the 30s?
1936. The first well, Watson No. 2, discovered the oil in the Harbor District.
And at one time, because of all the oil that was being pumped out, we started to sink?
As soon as they started producing the oil back in the 30s, they weren't injecting as we do now. And so there was a lot of oil and water coming out of the ground, and they weren't putting anything back. And so what happened is the reservoir actually was decreasing in pressure and caused the land to act kind of like a sponge underneath. And so as the water and oil came out, the ground started to subside as that pressure decreased. So by 1952, there was some points in the Harbor District that were sinking up to 2.4 feet a year. In the mid-50s, what we did, we started injecting water into the ground to try to stop the subside and see if it would. And the test pilot cases actually proved very successful. And by 1970, after the Long Beach unit came on production, the subsidence had stopped throughout Long Beach, but in some areas in the port it had sunk up to 29 feet.
Are there a lot of residents of Long Beach who still owns their mineral rights to their property like I do?
I was going to say, I heard that you do, Harvey, so.
I do. And you know, I like my check each month.
There's quite a number. Actually, in the Long Beach, my understanding is about 3,000, still 3,000 individual owners of mineral rights. But also, that's along with the city and the state of California, though, receives the majority of the revenue from this field.
Where else are we going to go?
Well, I'll tell you what, let's go take a look at the wells over here, and it's going to be a little bit different than you may be used to, and watch your step on the track here for the rig.
You know, it's really clean up here, isn't it?
It's very clean. I mean, it's one of the considerations when this was approved to allow the oil be drilled from this part of Long Beach. It wasn't, as I said, it wasn't started until 1965, and this field was known long before then. But what it was right here, looking right at downtown Long Beach, and no one really wanted to have a bunch of dirty oil wells in the oil field right out looking out at Long Beach. So what happened was, 62, the voter did lift the referendum to allow for this to be produced, but with the constraint that there would be no pollution, visual, noise, sound pollution. So what you're looking at in the cellar are the wells. Normally you would see grasshoppers pumping up and down, taking the oil out of the ground.
Are each of these an oil well?
Each of those are oil well, and instead of a grasshopper, if it's a producing well...
Now, when you say grasshopper, is that the pump that goes up and down?
That's the big pump that goes up and down. And so instead of that, what you see is are these wells, and what they have is what's called a submersible pump. Now that pump is down 2,000, 3,000 feet down into the ground. So instead of that pump, that big grasshopper is sitting up above the ground, all the pump is down below the ground, and these cellars contain all the wells. Some of them are injectors too, where they're injecting water back into the ground.
Now, some of this is slant drilling because I get a check because you're drilling under my property, right?
You get a check, actually, it doesn't matter if there's a well underneath your property or not. You are a percentage owner of the unit. So you get it because you have a certain percentage ownership in the unit.
Oh, so there may not be any oil under my property at all?
Well, there is oil under your property, but there may not be a well underneath your property. That doesn't matter. So all these wells, when we say some slant drilling, these are all slant drilling. None of these wells are vertical wells.
You know, just being here, how quiet it is. It's just not noisy at all.
It's very quiet, and this is one of the reasons too. You see that all the wells are down below ground level, so they're in the cellar. All the sound, any of the fluids that may happen to leak out, is all contained in the cellar, and eventually if there's any fluids, that all gets pumped out and processed, and oil gets sent to shore, and the water gets injected back into the ground here.
I know Island Gresham, which is right off the closest to Long Beach, right there at the downtown marina.
Right.
You know, you can you can stand there in the end and you could probably throw a rock and hit the island, but you do not hear a single sound, smell any oil. It's just unbelievable.
Well, as you can see here, I mean, you're standing right in the heart of this island, and you hear a little bit of noise, but it's all contained down in the cellar. You don't smell anything out here, and you really don't see it. It's a very clean island, as you can see, looking around. And one of the things we'll get over to are these concrete forms over here.
Let's go over.
Okay.
Now, I assume that's partly for the soundproofing?
It's for the soundproofing, certainly, and it keeps all the sound on the island. It also, what it does, is you can't see what's going on the islands from shore, so I think, as you've said, is that it's hard to believe there's even an oil operation out here because visually you don't see what's going on from shore.
That must have been quite a feat, doing the soundproofing, the landscaping, the sculpturing, the waterfalls, and all of the things that were done to beautify and make the island quiet.
But that was the constraint that was put on for all this. I mean, we didn't want to have drilling, a big oil operation going on right in front of downtown without disguising it all, making sure it stays clean, making sure you don't have any visual pollution, noise pollution, or smells.
Are these storage tanks over here?
Now, there's really not any storage for oil or water or gas. What happens here, and we'll get over the forms in a second, is that from the producing wells we saw a few minutes ago in the cellar, the fluid comes out and goes to what's called a well tester, and it measures how much water, gas, and oil is coming out of each of those wells. Then this one tank that's lying horizontally just past these few tanks here, it's called a free water knockout. All it does is all the fluid goes into there, the gas, which is light, comes up off the top, the oil floats on top of the water, and the water goes down below and gets pumped off below. Well, all it is separating out the three phases, the gas, the oil, and the water. And from there, what happens is the oil gets shipped back off the island, so there's no storage here. The water gets injected back into the ground.
But there's no pollution.
There's no pollution. Huh? It's all done by subsea pipelines, though.
What's clarified water? Do you know? I just saw it on the tank, and I have no idea what it is.
Oh, that one over there, okay. What it is that the water is coming out of the wells. It's a lot of times it's emulsified. What that means is that there is some oil contained within that water. And before we want to inject it back in the ground, we want to make sure as much of that oil is out of the water. Because if you inject it back into the ground, you're not going to get that oil back out. I mean, ultimately, this field will produce about 30 to 40% of the oil that's in the ground. It's not economic to get out the rest of that 70 to 60%. So if you inject any oil back in the ground, you're not going to get it back up. So all the rest of all the tanks and everything else you see, for the most part here, is to make sure all the oil is out of the water before it gets injected back into the ground.
You were looking into your crystal ball. What would be your projection for the longevity of this oil field?
As this field is now and these oil prices, it'll last at least another 20 or 30 years.
And is this, am I correct, this is the fourth largest oil producing field in the nation?
Well, the video that we were shown beforehand, it was a safety video to get you accustomed to what you're going to see out here and make sure everything's nice and safe for you. The video did say it's the fourth largest, and that's behind East Texas Field in Texas, Midway Sunset, and I believe one of the fields up in Alaska, Kuparuk, or I'm not sure which one.
Now these are just false fronts just for...
Now unfortunately today, I mean, one form we're looking off to right now, on the opposite side is, if you were to see it from shore, it'd be the waterfall, and it goes on at about 6 o'clock at night and shuts off about 10 o'clock. So right now they're kind of cleaning up the forms, making sure there's no cracks, because it is a concrete structure and we are in an ocean environment. And we want to make sure that the forms stay very healthy. So yeah, a little bit of painting up there, as you can see, a little cleanup.
I just can't get over how clean it is up here. It's just really...
It's not too bad. It's very clean, very quiet. You can still see it. It's,
all of the, looks like lockers over there. I know they're not.
You know, all high voltage lines over there coming in. As the pumps you saw earlier, it's all electric. So we're one of Edison's larger customers. We do have a 50 megawatt power plant that's over in the port that supplies a lot of our electricity here too.
Now, are these more oil wells over here?
The wells go almost all the way around the island. If you go over take a look, each one's numbered. You see the designation B. This is Island B. They originally were A, B, C, D, or Alpha, Beta, Charlie, and Delta. And each well has its number. You can see 770, 771I. That would be an injector.
Do you have any idea how many wells have been drilled?
Well, I think what said there's about 1,900 have been drilled from this part of the field,
wow.
But right now there's between 11 to 1,200 that are active.
That's amazing.
It's a lot of wells. Like I said, we're producing almost 1 million barrels, which a day of fluid. So each barrel is 42 gallons. So that's 42 million gallons of fluid that's produced and injected back into the ground every day.
Wow. And what's down here? More of the oil island.
Well, we'll go take a look and see. You can see it better on the right-hand side here. The FWKO's free water knockouts, as I was speaking of earlier, where all the fluid comes in, gas goes off the top, as I said, and the oil floats on top of the water, and the water gets pumped off the bottom. And then eventually we'll show you where all that fluid, or at least the oil, goes to shore in a minute.
Hey, I noticed the other day as I was walking along the bluff, you painted the structures.
Well, they need a little bit of upkeep occasionally, so we've changed to a little bit of darker blue this time.
So you can charge more rent for the condos?
Yes, definitely.
This just keeps going and going and going.
Well, 10 acres is a pretty good size. Let's walk over to this rig that's over here in front of us.
Now, there's a drilling rig inside the tower?
There's a drilling rig inside the tower, so you can, like I said, you can go all the way around the island. All these wells have been done by that or a similar rig. These islands used to have more than one rig or a drilling rig in years past, but we just don't need all those rigs anymore. We're not drilling that many wells per year. About 60 wells are drilled from this unit every year now.
I thought I used to remember 2 or 3 of the tall structures on the oil islands, and then all of a sudden there was just one.
Oh, back in the early 80s, I believe we had about 9 rigs in this field going all at the same time. Now we're going to hit a couple things here. Now what you can see in front of us is a workover rig. Now it's not drilling a well. What it's doing is fixing a well probably. It's either changing out the pump or it's cleaning up, perhaps putting some acid down in the well. It could be a couple different things. Now, it's one of the noisier features of this island, unfortunately. You can hear a little bit of it now. Those are the injection pumps. Now that's what it's doing, is it's putting all the water back into the ground so we don't have subsidence.
Are those long metal rods, or is that what they drill?
No, it's not drilling. What it's doing instead, probably, that's going down and retrieving, say, a pump, or it's going down and going to fracture the well or do something with the well. So it's hard to tell without exactly knowing which well they're working on right now.
Do you have any idea how many people it takes to run the oil island?
Well, Thumbs itself employs about 220 people, but they also employ a lot of subcontractors too. So I think all total about 700 employees are out, not on just one island, but between the office of Thumbs or the islands.
The reason I ask is I look around, I really don't see a lot of workers.
Well, a lot of them are either, you can't see the workers on the rig here. There's an office we can go in and take a look and see what's going on in there, but no, there's not that many people. I mean, most of what you see out here is very automated. And we can go take a look over here and what else we can find.
I'm sure there's plenty to find up here. Are most of the islands about the same?
The 3 islands that are closest to shore, Grissom, White, and Chaffee, are all pretty much identical in facilities and size. Freeman is just a little bit bigger. Since it's farther from shore, they decided to put it more on a rectangular basis. These first 3 islands, closer to shore, more octagonal, and they don't present a large footprint that you can see from shore. But facility-wise, they're all pretty much the same. You got wells on them, produce the oil and water and gas. You got injection wells, you put the water back in, and all the sand filters, clarifiers, free water knockouts, all the equipment's very much the same, just maybe placed a little bit differently.
Now, none of the workers stay here overnight?
No, they come and go. This is not as a rig you may see offshore Santa Barbara where people come and stay maybe a week or 2. So, since we have the boats that come on an hourly basis out to the islands, they can come and go as they please or as a shift changes.
Now, it's a little bit noisier over here.
But as you can see, we're right in the middle of the island too. So that was one of the features. They knew which the noisier equipment was going to be, so they kind of stationed that in the middle so any other sound would dissipate by the time we got to the edge of the island.
So that was all planned in advance?
It was planned well in advance. So the fluid, as I was saying earlier, I mean, one of the things is to clean up the water as much as possible. So it went from the free water knockout to the clarifier, to the flotation separators, and on all that, for the most part, like I said, is just try to clean up that water as much as possible before it gets back through the sand filters, make sure there's no grit to the injection pumps and get pushed back or injected back into the ground.
You know, I had an awful lot of people ask me to do this show because they were always curious about the oil islands. Is it ever open to the public?
We do take tours, as you're taking a tour now too. There are a lot of tours that come out here either through schools or through some community groups.
A lot of palm trees out here.
Well, it's as said, it's trying to design it so it's nice and visually it looks good from shore, or it looks good from any point of shore or from a boat. So it's very well disguised. And you can see off this side, which is the ocean side, there aren't the concrete barriers or concrete forms as you can see from the downtown side, because any sound gets dissipated and there's not really anyone living off in the ocean over there except maybe on a boat, and they can always move it.
I noticed we've not walked very far from the middle, but it's already a lot quieter as we get away.
Doesn't take far, you know, it quiets down very, very quickly. Kind of right in front of us, off to the right, you see all these colored pipes. What they are is they allow fluid to go from either one island to another, or the oil goes to Pier J, which is, then it gets shipped to the refineries from there. So each one is color-coded as per island or to Pier J. And what this allows you is the island produces a lot of fluid, a lot of water. And maybe this island doesn't need to inject all that water back at this point. So it has the ability to take that water and ship it to another island for injection purposes.
Is the water heated up at all because of the operation?
Actually, it's kind of the other way around. It's actually pretty warm coming out of the ground at an average temperature about 125 degrees when it comes out of the ground. And no, it doesn't get warmed up. The oil isn't the greatest oil in the world. It makes great asphalt and terrible gasoline. So it has it's a low API number, it's about 18 API. So, but it still flows readily enough to get to shore. We don't have to heat it up. And all these pipes, though, need to be cleaned up, and on a weekly basis, what they do, and I think on the other side we'll go find it, is they put what's called a pig through the pipe. And what it does is clean out the pipe and make sure that you don't have any corrosion going in the pipe. And now, at least once a year, they run what's called a smart pig through all these pipes. What it does is measure any corrosion in the pipes, and they can gauge through the years if there's any problems in the pipes that are going to occur. And we've never had a leak or an oil spill from this operation.
Do you paint often? Because it really looks like it's been freshly painted.
We do paint quite a bit. I mean, we are in an ocean environment, and it does get very corrosive out here because of the salt water.
So we're going down this way?
Now let's make a right here, and
I'll follow you.
Get up. So what you think of the operation?
I'm very impressed. I've been out here once before, and I was impressed then. I think what impresses me the most is the cleanliness of the operation. You don't see any oil on the ground. You don't see any waste material on the ground. It's just clean.
It's very nice. And here we go. And some of the things you don't see are inside the pipes. Like I was saying, these are the pigs. You see the brushes and how everything's situated. What they do is they put it in the pipeline, and they pressure it to the different island location, or to a different island actually. And what it does, like I said, is cleans up the pipe on the inside and ensures that there's no corrosion going on.
So the brush is just
scrapes the inside of the pipe, and these are kind of a hard, heavy rubber.
Sort of like a Roto-Rooter?
For the most part.
Wow.
And let's take a quick tour in the office here. Let's take a look inside the main office here on the island. About the only office, really. You can see there's a lot of computer displays, terminals. It's very automated. probably the most amount of people you've seen so far.
Still not a lot of people.
Still not a lot. All the computers are connected either to the automation out here and is also connected to the main office in downtown Long Beach.
So this is the operations room.
The main operations room.
And here we are back at the tower.
We've pretty much gone full circle around the island where we can. And we can take a look at the little bit of the drilling going on here, but can't go inside. You see they're painting, cleaning it up a little bit. As noted earlier, is that the whole structure's been recently painted.
That's unbelievable that that can move around the oil island on a track as big as it is.
Yeah, you can take a look here and see exactly what's contacting this track.
You can see it going along there. Huh. How long does it take to move? Do you know?
I believe it moves at about 5 miles an hour, so I could be wrong. It's a little piece of trivia I'm not sure about anymore. And here's a cellar in front of us. You can take a look. I mean, there's about 4, 5, 6, 7 wells, but there's quite a few empty spots for additional wells in the future.
So those are all spots where they can drill from?
Each one of those, yes. And as I said, we're drilling about 60 wells a year right now from this field, or this part of the field. So eventually maybe all those conductors, or those blank spots, will be filled up with wells in another 5 or 10 years.
The more wells, the more I make, right?
Well, the more wells, the more your check will perhaps stay the same, because if the oil prices stay where they're at.
It's a double-edged sword. I get more money from my oil rights, but I have to pay more at the gas station.
Well, yes, but I think yeah.
I guess it's an even trade for me.
Hey, gas prices come down recently.
Yeah, they are. I noticed less than $3 for a regular today.
It's not too bad. I saw $2.91 at Arco.
All right, is that about it?
Well, that's really about it. I'm more than happy to answer more questions. But for a quick tour of the island, you really saw most of it. If you noted, I can see about 7 people at this point, 7, 8 people. That's most of us think we've seen the whole time, but it's still a lot of things happen out here. You just don't see too many people.
I assume they have to bring the trucks and stuff out on barges?
Let's take a look at where those come over. Forgot I missed that. And you're right, all the trucks, barges, or all the trucks, larger equipment, the workover rig we saw earlier, all has to be brought over by barge. And all that comes from Pier G over in the port.
Those would be pretty good-sized barges to bring some of these trucks over here.
Well, actually, they can bring quite a number of trucks on those barges at one time. So there's a ramp right in front of us where what they do is they bring the barge up to the ramp and the trucks just drive right off of it. Now all the people that you see on the islands come over in the crew boat that we rode in earlier. And occasionally there'll be good timing and there'll be a barge here, but today I don't think we're going to get that one.
So this is where they tie up. So that goes down.
That, what happens is the barge comes up and then the ramp will lower down and sit on top of the barge, and then the trucks can either drive on or drive off of it. And so that just occurs just as needed basis.
Curtis, I want to thank you for taking us on a tour today. This is most enlightening, and now I've fulfilled all the requests of all the people who asked me to do a show on the oil island. So I thank you, sir, very much.
It's been a pleasure. Come out anytime.
Well, I will be back.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you very much.
And if you have any requests for shows that you would like to see, why, drop me an email at lbtreasures@aol.com, and we'll see if we can fulfill your request. And thanks for watching. That's our show for this time, and we'll see you again next time as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're visiting Bluff Heights, one of the historical districts here in the city of Long Beach. And we're going to be going through two homes. And joining me here at the first home is Catherine Morley. Catherine, can you take a break?
I think so, Harvey.
All right. Now, tell me a little bit about your house.
Well, my house was built in 1914. It's a transitional California bungalow. It is part of the Ocean Villa tract. Charles S. McNeary built most of the houses in this section of Bluff Heights.
Do you have any idea what it cost to build?
I don't know what it cost to build, but I know that lots were going for about $150 back then.
Good deal, huh?
Yeah.
How big is your house?
It's about 1,500 square feet.
And have you done a lot of reconstruction, a lot of restoration?
We have done a lot of restoration work. When I bought the house, I hate to tell you how long I've owned it, but when I bought the house back in 1978, I used it as a rental for many years. And then in the 1980s, I decided to move in. There wasn't too much information about restoring this type of home back then, but somehow I knew enough not to change the exterior or the interior too dramatically.
What is the siding on the house called?
It's called shiplap, and it's redwood.
And that's sort of a unusual little entryway over the front porch.
It is. The eyebrow over the front porch is very distinctive, and it's very unusual for this type of a house. Along with the neoclassical columns, it makes the house much different from any other of the California Craftsman bungalows that I've seen in Long Beach and surrounding areas.
And your front door is very typical Craftsman.
Yes, it is. It's quarter sawn with beveled glass.
What's quarter sawn oak?
What is it? It's been quarter sawn, I guess.
Okay, I'll accept that.
I don't know.
Can we go in and see your home?
I'd be delighted to show you.
All right. Then I'll let you come back and finish raking.
Thank you. I've got lots of yard work to do today. Come on, Sophie. Come on in, Harvey.
Oh, this is quite nice, isn't it?
Thank you. We love the house. With bungalows, you don't have a lot of wasted space. The whole idea of the bungalow is to utilize all of the space that you have. So therefore, I don't have an entryway. I go right into the living room. The crown molding in the living room and the dining room is original.
That's beautiful crown molding.
It really is. And the ceiling is lath and plaster. We were able to save that. The fireplace has always been in that position in the middle of the house, which I think is unusual. During the 1933 earthquake, or after that, the original fireplace probably was destroyed, so it was closed off. But I have restored the fireplace and also rebuilt the bookcases that would have been on either side.
And your little room over here is a little sunroom?
Yes. That was probably part of the porch, and at one point someone in the early years enclosed it. So I use that for my office and little sunroom area.
All the windows, it must be a delight to work in there.
It's very bright and very cheery.
What is your square footage here?
It's about 1,500 square feet.
Oh, that's a nice size.
It's big enough for us.
And then the dining room here?
Yes. The dining room has, of course, the original woodwork, the built-in china cabinet, the French doors that lead out to the front porch.
Now, is the ceiling original in here, too?
No, the ceiling in here was very damaged, so we had to replace that with drywall. But
the floors are original?
the floors are the original.
Oak?
Yes, it's a golden oak. And this is an interesting feature over here, Harvey. Take a look at this.
Oh, that's for your help to
Yes.
when it's time to bring in your dinner?
When we're having dinner guests, this little pass-through can be used for serving and for clearing up. Unfortunately, there's no butler in the kitchen.
Speaking of the kitchen, let's go in and look at it.
Please, come on in.
Oh, this is nice. Now, this can't be all original.
No, it's not. The kitchen was in pretty bad shape, and in the late 1970s, there was one of those awful remodels done. So about 4 years ago, my husband and I decided to try to bring the kitchen back to something close to what would have been original. And we have tried to make use of all the available space in a very usable way. This room, as many of the rooms, do dual duty. This is not only the kitchen, it's a breakfast area, and my laundry area is here too. Let me show you.
I was just checking. I was going to say that's an unusual table, but this is just a top of a
Oh, this is a hooser.
What's a hooser?
Well, it's something that was used back in the early 1900s, and I think up until the 1930s and 40s.
Almost looks like an icebox.
Well, this over here would be used for flour.
Oh.
And and then this table pulls in and out, and there's storage below for cabinets and for pots and pans and things like that. So it's very functional. So I had the hooser before we remodeled the kitchen, and I wanted to keep it because I think it's very useful.
And you were going to point out something over here?
Well, as I said, it's the dual duty kitchen, so our laundry room is here as well. So my washer and dryer
That's convenient.
is right in here. Yeah. So I have a nice folding area and workspace, and then my washer and dryer is enclosed behind those little doors.
I like the beadboard on the walls.
Yes, I do too.
And that's very traditional on a bungalow.
And of course, my ironing board.
Oh,
Here.
did you build that, or is that original?
No, we built that, but this kitchen would have had one.
Right, it would have.
So we tried to be as authentic as possible, and I used, of course, Jane Powell's book on bungalow kitchens as my guide. This is a great book.
Almost looks like your cupboards.
Yes, and we were very insistent that the cupboards be inset doors, because that is how they would have been built in the early 1900s.
And the little stained glass?
That is original to the house. You know, at some point, this was a back porch, and there was access from here to the back door. So I kept that as an architectural.
So that would have been outside at one time?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Where are we going now?
Well, would you like to just take a peek into the bedrooms and the bathrooms?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go. As I mentioned to you, we use all the available space. So in the hallway...
I like this hallway.
Yes. My husband likes to collect wine. So when we took out the old wall heater and put in forced air heating, we had this wine rack built, and then there's storage under here for additional wine and sodas and things like that. Also, we have a drop-down ladder for our attic.
Oh, those are really handy, aren't they?
They're very handy, very handy.
And this is the master bedroom?
Yes. Just a very simple, functional bedroom.
I see your hat collection. Do you wear them?
Yes, I do.
You do?
Yes. I love hats. And the original and only bathroom in the house, we've since built another bathroom, but is right in here. And just kind of modern. I like to have fairly modern kitchens and bathrooms, but still trying to keep the look and feel of something from that would be typical to the house.
Is your home air conditioned?
No.
Because it's so comfortable in here.
Well, I think with the high ceilings in the attic, it helps to keep the house very comfortable.
This is a very comfortable home.
It works well for us. We love it.
While we're here, you live in Bluff Heights, which is a historical district, right?
Yes.
And this is the newest historical district in the city?
Yes, it's the 17th historic district.
And your boundaries are?
We are Broadway to 4th and Redondo to Junipero.
Now, I assume there's an eclectic mix of architecture, predominantly California bungalow and craftsman?
Mm-hmm. Some Spanish, some English, Tudor revival, but mostly craftsman.
Is it difficult to become a historic district?
Well, it takes a lot of time and some, effort and work. A lot of cooperation with your neighborhood association, your city council person, your historic preservation officer.
Now, do you have an active neighborhood organization?
Yes, we do. Very active. We just finished doing our, I think it's our 5th annual 4th of July picnic. And we also did our first home tour.
And this was one of the homes on the tour?
Yes, it was.
And it was very successful, I understand.
It was very successful, and we had a lot of fun.
Good. Are you going to do another one?
Oh, maybe someday. We'll see.
It's not going to be an annual event?
Probably not. Probably not.
Well, Catherine, I want to thank you for taking me on a tour of your house.
Well,
and
thank you.
Letting us come in.
It's my pleasure.
And I'll let you go back now and continue to rake your leaves.
Okay.
And don't you go away, because we'll be right back with more Long Beach Treasures.
Wow, look at all this great stuff, and all more than 50% off retail value. When I'm not working on my show, Extreme Makeover Home Edition, I'm out looking for bargains just like these. I'm at Habitat for Humanity, South Bay, Long Beach's new home improvement store. Profits from this store will help build safe, decent, and affordable homes in partnership with people right here in our own community. So come visit the store. You can donate your own items, improve your home, and help someone else's life at the same time. That's what I call giving to the extreme.
Welcome back to Long Beach Treasures. We're going to see another spectacular home here in Bluff Heights, and joining me now is the owner, Gary. Gary, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
And I notice your front yard is not typical.
No, it's not. It actually was originally designed by the previous owners, who wanted to have all of the flowers and all of the plants be around 1915, true to 1915 as the house. So we've tried to keep it up, and it's relatively easy to keep up, but here and there something dies, we have to replace it. So it's not quite as true to 1915 as the original garden.
So I'm assuming the house was built in 1915.
Yes.
Duh! And what's your square footage here?
I think it's about 1,800 square feet, and that's just the house itself. Yeah.
Quite large. Can we go in and look at it?
Yes, please.
All right, let's go. Okay, now this is a very typical craftsman home here on the order of sort of a green and green.
Well, yes, it's your typical craftsman home. It's got a lot of the built-in, a lot of the wood. And I know that this house, the original owners, of course, bought it as is, and then a family came in later on and removed the built-ins, painted over the woods, and removed a lot of the things like some of the cabinets. And the previous owners, John and Elizabeth, had come in and restored the wood to its original condition. And I remember her telling me she used dental tools and all to get it back in and put the built-ins back in as well.
So these were all replaced?
Yes, they are all replaced. In fact, John...
They look like they belong. They look like they're original.
Well, yes, because John and Elizabeth did some painstaking detail trying to figure out what the original house would have looked like. And they had some fact to show them what went where, and some of it they kind of took their best guess as to a house for the period.
Now, the floors are original?
Yes.
Oak?
These are the original oak floors, and as we go through the rest of the house, you'll see that the dining room and living room, which are the public areas of the house, have the oak floor.
Go
Oh,
on
yes.
back towards the dining room and check it out while we're here.
Yes.
Now, this cabinet hasn't been replaced, has it? That was always here.
That has been replaced. Now,
By the previous owners also?
by the previous owners, and it's interesting because that is not a flat, it's kind of a semi-hexagon,
Right.
and they were able to find out from their detective work that indeed there was a semi-hexagon cabinet there, so they replaced it as it would have looked like.
That's beautiful wood, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. In fact, they spent a lot of time lacquering the wood to try to bring it out.
Where are we going next?
Well, we can go into the private part of the house, and as you notice when we go to the private part of the house...
Well, this is a long hallway, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Oh, now the floors do change, don't
They
they?
changed to fir. Fir was less expensive, so of course if you're going to try to save some money, fir still looks great, and you'd have it in the private part, but the public part you'd have oak. So what we have here is we have the long hallway, and this library, as you notice, a lot of the wood built-ins here. And what's kind of nice about this room too is Elizabeth, the former owner, stenciled the pine cones on the shades.
Huh. Quite artistic.
Yes, definitely, definitely. So we currently use this room as a library, as you can see, and also kind of a media room.
I notice your chandeliers. Are those new or are they original?
Some of the chandeliers are original. This one is new. This one is actually probably 15 years old, but it is made in the Craftsman style.
Right.
And the vase there, which is a Luella Weller vase, which is something that I've been holding on to quite a while. She made vases.
You're talking about the black,
Yes,
the
with
dark one?
Exactly. She made vases around the turn of the century and applied a lot of the color in the slip of the vase.
Let's go on down because I have to get to the, I understand you have a spectacular wine cellar and I have to leave room for that.
Yes. Do you want to see? This is the original bathroom of the house. And as you notice, it's got the built-ins and the rail hanging as the rest of the house has. The tile was made to look as the original, and then that bathtub is original to the period. It wasn't the original bathtub in the house.
Is that unusual to have picture rails in the bathroom?
You know, I'm not sure about that. That does seem kind of strange, but they're in almost every room of this house, so that's kind of nice to be able to do that.
And then this is the master bedroom down here?
The master bedroom's here, and so this bathroom was not originally part of the house. It was added on later. This is the master bathroom, and oddly enough, where you see this painting here, original painting by Joe Corso of a window, we figured out later that there was actually a window here before the bathroom was put in.
So this is 2 bedrooms, 2 bath now?
Yes, yes, definitely.
And so nice to see the wood original in all of the rooms. Thank God it's not painted white.
I know, definitely. That was one of the nice things about buying this house from John and Elizabeth. They basically did all the work in the house, and we had very little to do in the house. We did most of our work outside.
Let's go check out the kitchen.
Okay.
And can't get over this long hallway.
Well, this hallway's kind of nice because you can see that with the public rooms of the house, if people were entertaining, you could just close these 2 doors, and then the rest of the family could traverse wherever they needed to without the guests disturbing them.
Now, has the kitchen been remodeled?
Yes, the kitchen was remodeled by John and Elizabeth. They attempted to get it back to what the original looked like. So you could see where they did the tile on the countertops, the yellow with the orange highlights that would have been original to the period. The floor, we really don't know what the floor was. When we got the house, it was a very worn-out fir floor. So we put in this marmoleum, which would have been true to the period as well, and we tried to pick up the accents of the tile with the yellow and orange.
Marmoleum, is that a form of linoleum?
It is indeed. It is indeed. So that's something that's very easy on the feet, because as you can see with the stove, we do a lot of cooking. So we spend a lot of time. Yes. Yes, we have lots of dinners for many people, so that's nice to have a floor that's kind of comfortable. Also, you'll notice with all the cabinets that have been restored to original, we do have that cabinet with the airflow, in other words, the cooling cabinet, where when you open up, you could see where the air would come up through the ground, circulate up throughout, and you could keep your vegetables and all in there, and they keep a little bit cooler. This was before, of course, refrigeration.
Let's go out and look at the backyard, because I understand you've done quite a bit of work out here.
Yes.
Oh, this is a big backyard, isn't it?
Oh, yes, it is. We've got pretty big locks here. Excuse the ducks in there.
That's fine.
But when we first got this was just a big backyard with nothing in it. And
You
this
can let the dogs out if you
I
want.
can let the dogs out.
It's no
Okay.
problem.
And this was the garage originally. Come on, guys.
Hi, guys.
Okay. Stop. So anyway, so what we did was we added on this wisteria pergola here. So what we did was, excuse me, should I put the back in?
Oh, they'll get used to us.
Okay. So anyway, we decided to put in this pergola here. Hey guys, where it was the taking from the Pasadena bus stops, and then the California Hotel in Disneyland kind of has that Craftsman theme. So Dennis worked with an architect to be able to build this with the river rock, the bricks, and then the wood, and then we had our wisteria from our old house that at the time was about 15 years old to grow up over it, and then later on we added in the brick and river rock hearth for the outside.
Do you use this a lot?
We do use this. In fact, whenever the weather allows us to, we'll set up dinner out here and we'll entertain out here, which is kind of nice.
And then, of course, you have to have a water element.
Yes, the water fountain. And then, as you can see over here, you're looking at the wine cellar.
All right, that's what I want to see.
Yes, and it's as you notice, it's set off a little differently from the rest of the house. So the new garage is there, the old garage is there. If we had it the same design, it would have kind of looked like a run-on, but it's a very special area, so we wanted to make sure we had a very special look to it, more or less like a cave.
Is that your garage door?
That is the garage door.
So you come in this way?
Yes, through the alley.
On the grass?
On the grass. There is, and I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's kind of like a very, very hard plastic molding under the grass that allows the grass to breathe and grow, but yet you can drive on top of it without necessarily mushing down the earth.
Oh, okay.
So this is the wine cellar, and
now I read the brochure when you were on the home tour, and it said this can accommodate 1,700 bottles of wine.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, we only got 2 minutes, so we have to
Great.
check it out.
There we go.
Oh, it's nice and cool in here, huh?
It is. It keeps it at 55 degrees. And so, as you notice, I've amassed a collection of wine bottles. These are all from California, various different reds. Then we get into some of the whites, lots of French wines, Italian wines, Spanish wines.
Now, how many bottles do you figure is in here?
I'd figure about, I'd guess 1,000, and I have no idea if that's
so
correct.
you got room for a few more.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed.
This is neat. A little wine tasting room and everything.
Yes. And Yeah, it's fun because when we do entertain out there and we run out of wine, it's a very quick trip in here to be able to pick one out.
Well, this is really quite nice. Bluff Heights has some really spectacular homes, don't they?
They do, indeed. It's wonderful living here.
How long have you lived here?
We've lived here 6 years, actually. We moved in 2000. We realized we lived in a very wonderful neighborhood, very friendly neighbors. So it's a unique block. People really get along here and take care of each other.
Well, and what's nice, too, about living in a historical district, people have guidelines to follow so that someone's not going to come in and build a McMansion or paint an outlandish color or do something that doesn't fit in the neighborhood.
Exactly, exactly. And that's, of course, our concern. So the wonderful thing is that when people do renovate, like the house next door, which before they moved in was kind of like a haunted house and it was almost falling down, when they restored it to obviously look a lot better and look true to the period. So that's the nice thing about living here.
Gary, thank you for letting me stop by and taking me on a tour of your house. It's a spectacular home. I really like when things are preserved and restored and going back to the original design. So thank you, and enjoy all this wine.
I will. Thank you very much.
Well, I'll come over and help you.
Yes, indeed.
Okay. And that's our show for this month. Come back and join us again next month as we take another walk through history and uncover more Long Beach treasures. Hello, and welcome to another edition of Long Beach Treasures. I'm your host, Harvey Keller. Today we're going to be at another historical institution, the Tichenor Orthopedic Clinic for Children. And joining me is Lori Woodruff, who is the executive director of the clinic here. Lori, thanks for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for coming by today.
Now, you were founded, I believe, in 1926.
Yes, Adelaide Tichenor founded the clinic on her death, and the clinic was opened in 1926.
And you moved in this building in 1938, so you were somewhere in between.
We started in the basement at Long Beach Community Hospital next door, and were able to see the very first patients there, and then the first building opened in 1938.
So you didn't have far to move.
Yeah, that was really fortunate for Tichenor.
How did Adelaide Tichenor get her wealth in order to do all the civic work that she did?
Adelaide was married to a lumberman who was based out of Riverside, California. So she was able to do many philanthropic things with the money that they made in that business.
And I believe she also was one of the founders of the Ebell Club.
Yes, she was very involved in the community, founded Ebell. She was very involved in the library, the Long Beach Day Nursery. She was very prominent citizen of Long Beach.
And she had a beautiful green and green house down on Ocean Boulevard.
Oh, yeah. I wish that was still preserved.
I'm still hoping it'll be restored to its original beauty one of these days. But speaking of beauty, you have a nice building here. Now, this is a combination of streamlined modern, and the entryway looks more Art Deco than streamlined modern, with the setbacks and the striations. That's not the word I want.
Striations, yes.
There you go. Thank you. Now, and I understand, now, this is a beautiful building. It has a lot of architectural features, and I understand that they remodeled it in 1960s and covered up all of the details?
Yeah, they thought at the time that they would modernize the clinic and put this iron grate up in front of it that hid the whole front of the building. And then in 2003, we were able to restore the original architecture, and we're very proud of how it's turned out.
You know, I was reading an article about the clinic, and it said that Mrs. Tishner started it basically so that they could provide health care for all children regardless of their status.
That's still true today. We accept patients who have no insurance, or if they're underinsured, say they have Medi-Cal, or if they're not able to obtain the service elsewhere, then those are the children that we're here to help.
Is there any particular reason why she started an orthopedic clinic?
Adelaide had a club foot, I think, when she was a child, and I think she realized that if she'd gotten care early in life, it would have made a difference for the rest of her life. So she had a special passion about helping children with physical handicaps, and also infantile paralysis was a particular interest to her.
Oh, well, can we go in and see your facility?
Welcome, come on in.
All right. It's also Art Deco in here, isn't it?
Yeah, I love this lobby. I think it's beautiful design with all the lines and the curves on the walls. And the furniture is actually, I think, from the Bixby Ranch.
You know, I was just going to say there's a connection between this and the Long Beach Day Nursery, because Florence Bixby started the day nursery, and I see she was vice president when this clinic opened.
Yes, until recently we had a member of the Bixby family on our board of directors. Oh. So we have a strong connection there.
So this is the reception area out here?
Yeah, this is our lobby. Let me show you our one of our program areas. This is our assistive technology lab. Is that okay? In this area, we do speech therapy with some of the children that are 1 to 3-year-old, and our goal is that they leave our program with the ability to communicate in some form or another, whether it be sign languages, pictures, or assistive technology.
So all of your patients then do not have orthopedic problems?
Most of these kids have speech delays in addition to their orthopedic problems. But it can be developmental delay, it can be orthopedic, it can be neurologic.
And what's the age range for your students?
The students in this program are 1 to 3, but in the whole clinic, any orthopedic problems, it could be birth to 18 years of age.
And about how many students do you have?
The clinic helps anywhere from 3,000 to 5,000 children a year. In this particular program, there's about 40 children that are helped a year. So we have a computer area that the children are able to use single switch devices to activate the learning software on the computer. We have a standard speech therapy table where they get to work on articulation problems. And then in this little play area behind me, they get to play with the toys, switch-activated toys, or they use a communication device that speaks for them, and they're simple button controls.
Now, are all of your staff members who do the speech therapy and whatever else, are they all credentialed?
Yeah, they're licensed speech and language pathologists, and we have 2 on staff. We have a mentor lead therapist, Marilyn Edwards, and then a student who's just graduated from Cal State Long Beach paired with her, who's full-time, so she's finishing her clinical fellowship year.
Do you have any medical personnel on board?
We have a physician that comes to the clinic. He comes 2 times a month and sees children, again, with no insurance who have simple orthopedic problems. And we collaborate with Miller Children's Hospital and run the Miller Children's Hospital Tishner Orthopedic Center, which is actually located on the other side of the hospital right now, a center of excellence. So I can show you one of the orthopedic rooms.
Sure, let's go. Now, before we go into the exam room, is this one of your students?
This is little Ami. Hi, Ami. How are you today? Can you say hi?
Can you say hi?
Hi.
And you are?
I'm Summer Sheridan. I'm a speech pathologist here.
Aha. So she looks like she's a little bashful.
She is a little bit shy. Are you shy?
All right, thanks for talking.
Bye.
Okay, this is one of the exam rooms. Oh, this looks like a regular doctor's office.
Yes. So this room is one of our larger rooms, and we're able to remove casts if we need to in this area, or the physician does exams here, and the physical therapists also use this room for individual treatment sessions.
And how many rooms do you have, exam rooms?
We have 3 exam rooms right now, and they all have high-low tables and x-ray view boxes for the orthopedist, and afford us that, small space that's private to help a client.
All right, where next?
We could have just done the treadmill. Instead, we have to make our
Here's one of our little guys who's getting outpatient physical therapy with Mary Wardell, our physical therapist. A lot of the kids here are working on walking and strengthening for...
How old is he?
2.
2?
2 years old. Huh? Thank you.
Ah, let's go swimming.
We named this the Gladys Neff Pool. Gladys Neff was the director at the clinic for 30 years, so we named it in her honor. And this is one of the favorite areas of the clinic. The pool is 2.5 feet deep by 4.5 feet deep, so it's perfect for children. It's got nice steps on the end. It's open 5 days a week. We have swim lessons Monday through Friday afternoons. And it's for kids with special needs, and there are lots of scholarships available to help with the cost of those lessons.
As I look around in here, it seems like the tile, is it original?
So yeah, the color and all the tile is original in this room. So when the architect did the remodel, they chose these colors to redecorate in the rest of the building.
And the chair?
The chair is actually new. We had a lift that looked more like a gas station lift, like with the cars that lifted up, and that was donated to us from Sir Optimus International of Long Beach. But this is a new lift.
A patient or a child would sit in there and then you would lower them into the water?
Exactly.
Oh.
So some of the kids need a little assistance in getting in the water in and out safely. And we have physical therapy in the pool 2 days a week. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, the physical therapist will work on activities with the children where weight bearing is important, but we don't want to stress their joints. It's good for children with pain issues like sickle cell disease. Those kids do really well in the pool, or arthritis.
It's really warm in here.
Yeah, it gets a little bit humid, and it's nice and toasty, which is good when you're in the pool.
I bet it would be. Yeah. It looks refreshing. Yeah. Okay, now where?
Let me show you our gym.
All right. Now you call this the gym?
Yeah, we see physical therapy patients in our gym, and it's designed both for adolescents, the preteens like to come in here and work on aerobic things or weight strengthening, or our little guys like this guy. Bye.
This looks like a rock climbing wall, is it?
It is. The climbing wall is a great reward, and it helps children with motor planning. It's a flexion activity. So, and we also have a really $7,000 light gate machine over there that you can suspend a child over a treadmill and work on ambulation skills. So it's a really nice piece of equipment for those children that are just learning to walk and need a lot of support. Otherwise, we do a lot of strengthening, range of motion, the mat activities with the kids to help them recover from whatever injuries or disabilities they might have.
Well, there's quite a bit of equipment in here.
Yeah, variety is a key with kids. We're trying to do a fitness program for children with musculoskeletal problems, so the treadmill is helpful with that. We have a bike in the corner here, a recumbent bike, so they can work on that. In the other side of the room, we have an upper extremity bicycle. We have the total gym, which helps them with strengthening, weightlifting, and medicine balls. So they do, they can throw the weighted balls to get some upper body strength.
Oh, this is quite a nice facility.
Thank you. Let me show you our early intervention area.
Okay. Oh, on our way here, I see Long Beach Heritage, an award for you. I was president of that for 3 years. So you must have received an award for redoing the building, the facade.
We're really excited to be nominated and receive that award in 2003 at the completion of our remodel project. And that meant a lot because that was our goal, was to restore the building to its original architecture.
I might have been president at that time in 2003.
So we might have met on the Queen Mary.
We might have. You know, I notice your bulletin board here, and I see the Miller Burns Japanese Garden Library. Do you go on field trips with your students?
Yes, once a month we go on a field trip with the classes, and the goal is to help model how we can enrich an activity in your regular community, with the physical therapist being there, and the parents can network with each other, and you would be surprised at how much language comes out in a natural environment.
Okay, in this room we're going into now is the gym, you said?
This is a physical therapy room for the early intervention program. It's where the kids work on all their jumping and their throwing and their large movement activities, so they develop their gross motor skills.
And these children are about how old?
All these children are between the ages of 1 and 3 years of age. And at 3, they'll graduate from our program and go to the school district and a program specially for them.
Now, what are they going to jump off there?
So what they're doing now is working on a motor planning test. They're trying to go upstairs, follow a task, pick up the leaves, and come down around through the other side. So it's all about motor planning, coordination, and moving over different texture surfaces. See how it works on it, challenges their balance. And,
it keeps the instructors on their toes, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's always a challenge keeping everybody focused and going on the same task. When you have a group to work with, too, it's hard. You're not one-on-one, and the kids always give you a run for your money.
Well, I notice if you have very small groups and you have the ratio of children to instructors are very, very low.
We try and keep it 2 to 1, 2 children to 1 staff member. And there are generally 12 children enrolled, so today we probably have a few kids out with absences and illness. And they split the group in 2, so half work at a time in the gross motor section. The other half's working in with the occupational therapist.
They seem to enjoy it.
Oh, yeah, the kids really have fun in here. And that's the whole goal, is that during play that they work on their skills. And we want to help them feel successful.
I thought maybe they were going to jump off the platform into the inner tube.
You know, we do have them jump sometimes, but we put this big pillow. It's called Cloud 9, so that it's nice and safe for them to practice jumping into a pillow.
And how long do they work on this skill?
So they'll be in this area for about a half an hour working with a physical therapist and an aide. And then they go into the next classroom and work for 30 minutes with the occupational therapist.
Can we go in the other room and check it out?
Let me show you that area.
Okay. Okay, and this room is?
This area we use for snack time. It's one of the favorite activities of the children. And snack time is really a chance to develop social skills, language, and some oral motor or chewing, eating skills.
This is the snack down here? Or this whole area?
This area right in here with the little tables. They sit at the table and wash their hands. So they also do dramatic play in this little play area after snack time. So again, they're working on social skills, interacting with other children, and developing some imagination, creativity.
And down at the end of the room here?
So at the end of the room here, we have the occupational therapy going on. Debbie is our occupational therapist, and Maria is
Hi, Debbie.
Hi, kids.
Hi, guys.
Hi.
We're just going to be scooping out some pumpkins.
Oh, you're scooping out pumpkins today.
So that's one of the things we're going to be working on.
They usually work on manipulative activities or tabletop activities that develop coordination of their hands and their fingers.
And now they're like, wow, we did.
He's not quite sure what's going on. Be all ready for Halloween, won't you?
Yeah, it'll be a fun activity for them. All the kids get evaluated by the therapist, and then they try and incorporate different activities based on what things that they need to work on. So they might work on puzzles or matching, or they might work on scooping, or if they might need sensory experiences. So every child gets kind of a different activity based on what their evaluation shows.
Now, are you going to plant the seeds and grow pumpkins in the backyard?
We have had a little tiny garden in the backyard, but I don't know if we'll sport pumpkins.
It was part of our theme. I mean, we did some paper bag pumpkins there. All the kids in all the classes contributed to that tree right there.
I want to know who plays the keyboard.
Our physical therapist Mary donated the keyboard, and again, the kids love that. They'll act out playing music, and you know, the favorite activity of the whole development program is freeze dance. So they put on music, and then the music moves, and at one point it says freeze, and everybody has to stop their moving, and all the kids freeze. And then it'll go again, and they do it every day. It's their favorite activity. So there's one more area. We have an outside area where the kids can play.
Let's go check it out. And then I think we're going to go back to the pool, aren't we, so we can see somebody working out?
Yeah, somebody's having a swim lesson, so that'd be fun to check in.
Oh, this is a nice area out here.
This is really great for the kids to be able to get outside in a safe and closed environment. We have a little slope so it can challenge their balance. The mats are all rubberized and really safe. We have an area up in the top here for the littlest children.
This is, oh, it is rubberized, isn't it?
It's all cushioned.
Soft.
And the area down below, the children of all ages actually love that activity and have, you know, many different challenges there.
Now, on nice days like today, do they have time they spend out here?
Generally, they plan it into their curriculum, so they'll go out during their gross motor activity. And so, yeah, the kids do get out in the nicer months, which in California is a lot.
All fenced in, so it's very secure?
Yeah, so we don't have any problem with the children can run and explore the area, and we use trikes out here and have little parades with wagons and such, so it makes it really nice for the children. Yeah. The other thing we do out here is water play, sand play. They do their painting activities out here, so it's just much easier. Bubbles, we chase the bubbles.
So it's multitasking out here.
Yeah, it's a fun place for the children.
All right. Now, did you say this wing was added on?
Yes, when we did our expansion, we weren't able to house the whole programs of the clinic, so that the whole wing on this back end of the clinic was added on.
Well, they sure matched it up to the front of the building, the original portion of the building, quite well, didn't they?
Yeah, they tried to carry through the same lines and the same look and feel as the front of the building. I think they did a great job.
Okay, we're going to go back into the pool and we're going to check it out once again. You have little areas all over to work at, don't you?
Yeah, we try to keep a little kids area in the lobby too, so they can be the sisters and brothers that have to wait, have a place to play.
Now, do the parents provide the transportation for the children?
The clinic has 2 vans, and so we're able to transport. About half of the children here need transportation to get to their therapy appointments. So.
How long are they here? At all day, half day?
So the children in our early intervention program are here just 2.5 hours. So we have 4 different classes that come. They come twice a week. And the children that come for outpatient therapy probably spend an hour here, or the lessons. Yes.
And we're going to go in and...
We have a lesson in progress.
Good.
And, some of the funding for our program comes from the Rich Kempster fund that was given to the clinic. One of our board members passed away, and he was a former patient here, and one of his loves was the pool program.
You know, that's something I was going to ask you, and I had almost forgotten until you just mentioned it. How do you fund yourself? Because if the children don't pay for the services...
We depend on donations. So over the years, the community has been very generous to clinic, and the money has all been invested, and people continue to contribute and donate to this day, large gifts or small, and that helps fund all the care that is provided in the clinic.
Now, is she learning to swim, or is this just a therapeutic activity?
She's getting a swim lesson. So one of the hallmark features is the back float method. So we're trying to help the kids learn how to be water safe. So she's teaching them how to roll over on their back and then kick when they go on their stomachs to the edge of the pool. So all the children that receive swim lessons here have some physical challenge and would have a harder time in a regular swim class. But one-on-one here and with a special technique, they do really well.
She seems to be enjoying it.
Yes, she really is enjoying it. If you notice, she gave one of her little signs when she brings her fingers together. That means more. And so she's signing to her teacher, telling her that she wants more.
Oh, is she deaf?
She probably has hearing issues.
Oh.
Yeah. So Vanessa is one of our lead swim instructors, and she's been doing our program now for over 2 years. And it's one of our fastest growing new programs, very popular with the children.
Now, how many children do you have in the pool at any one time together?
Usually we try and just limit it to 2 or 3 in getting swim lessons. But when we have physical therapy in the pool, there might be as many as 4 or 5 in a group, all working on fitness activities and challenging each other, and it kind of makes it more fun for some of the teenagers. So in any given afternoon, we might have 25 or 30 children who come in for lessons during that afternoon.
And how long does the swimming lesson last?
So usually we find that the kids' energy level is good for about 20 minutes, and then after 20 minutes, if they're pool safe, they get to play for another half hour while the next child is having a lesson. So that's one of the things that is a reward for doing well. So she's playing Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall with one of the children, and being able to, come into a pool is one of the important skills.
This is a great facility. I'm really quite impressed, and I know you provide a needed service to the community, as you have for all these many years.
We're trying to continue Adelaide's vision for the clinic to provide services to improve the functional abilities of children with orthopedic musculoskeletal problems.
You know, when you stop and think of some of the pioneering families that was here in Long Beach, like the Tischners, the Bixbys, they were quite generous with their wealth and their service to the community, weren't they?
They made a huge difference, and look at how long it's continued into the future for them. I think, their gift keeps giving, and that's just tremendous when you look at what they've done.
Do you ever take your children up to Rancho Los Alamitos?
Yes, we do. We have a field trip up there because that was one of the things that in the rancho they said if Tischner's children ever needed a picnic that we were welcome there. So once a year we bring the children up there and they see the animals. And
well, come up on the 3rd, 4th, or 5th Wednesday of the month, and I'll take you on a tour. I'm a docent up there.
Oh, that's fabulous. That'd be wonderful.
I would enjoy it. Lori, I want to thank you for giving us a tour of your facility here and letting us see the great work you're doing and will continue to do for probably many years to come.
Thank you so much for coming. That was great.
Thank you. And this ends our 6th year of filming Long Beach Treasures. I want to thank you for your support and for watching the show, because without you, we wouldn't be here. So it's been a real pleasure, and come back next year as we start season 7, and we'll still take you on a journey and see some of the treasures of Long Beach. And on behalf of myself, our cameraman John Jean, Ron Petke, and all the folks at Charter Communications, we would like to wish you a most joyous holiday season. And we'll see you again next year on Long Beach Treasures.